Morning, everybody. It's Mike Kennedy, Vermont Bar Council. It's Tuesday of Lawyer Wellbeing Week. Speaking a little low from the garage this morning. It's really early. Don't want to wake up my neighbors or bother them. I think I should be okay, though. Anyway, check out the blog for yesterday's sort of introduction to what's going on during Lawyer Wellbeing Week. It's organized by the National Task Force on Lawyer Wellbeing. Different theme each day. Yesterday was physical health. Physical well-being. Today's theme, got my trusty notes, spiritual well-being. What the task force is urging lawyers to focus on today, it's not religion, spirituality, it's focusing on aligning yourself with your work. And what they've defined that as meaning is we've all got to figure out ways to make work meaningful to ourselves, because the numbers show that a lot of the burnout, stress, and anxiety in the profession that lawyers are dealing with and have been now for many, many years results from just feeling like our work has no meaning. So some tips I'm going to share with you from the National Task Force. I am by no means a counselor or some sort of professional coach, job coach. But I can read articles that they put online and then take some of the best parts from them for you. So the first tip I want to share with you is when you start talking about finding meaning in your work. I read a great quote today. Remember, it's a process. It's not an Easter egg hunt. So if you go to work today and say, wow, that worked today from 2 o'clock to 2:30, I felt meaningful. Awesome, I've got this beat. Well, that's good. I'm glad that you did that from 2 to 2:30. But remember, you got to repeat that over and over and over again. It's like when I'm coaching basketball. A kid doesn't make one foul shot and stop practicing foul shots. It'll be over and over and over again. Process, not an Easter egg hunt. Okay, so here's 3 tips on how we can sort of maybe find a little bit more meaning in our daily lives, and most importantly, help others to find meaning in their work. I think that's where my thoughts are going to focus today. So number 1, I read an article this morning on the task force website about one of the biggest drivers to or barriers to people finding meaning in their work is some incivility in the profession. The quote I read that incivility is corrosive to our profession. It leads to burnout because it causes stress and anxiety in other people. We've got to do more, and I've been saying this for a couple of years now. Maybe I have to start walking the walk. We have to start calling out people who don't treat other people well. Okay, I'm not talking about taking a hard line for your client. That's fine, and you should expect your adversaries to do that. I am talking about rudeness, toxicity, condescending behavior, belittling others. That is one way to cause stress, cause anxiety, and deprive people of feeling meaning in what they do. So let's get better at that. Number 2, I'm going to talk about what can you as a supervisor do to help the people who work for you find meaning in their work. And I understand you're not going to let somebody come in right out of law school and start trying the most important cases or handling the most important transactions. But more and more these days, our new lawyers and our younger lawyers, they are looking for some sort of culture at work that's going to lend them meaning to what they do. And here's my thought on that. You can certainly define roles. I'm brand new. I'm not going to have the most important cases or matters, like I just said. But if you define to me my role and tell me that my role is important in the big scheme of things, what we're doing there, and then you remind me over and over again when I'm doing a good job that, hey, I'm mattering to the bigger picture, I think that's an environment that would help some of your younger employees, newer employees find meaning in what they do. And the analogy I draw there is when I was coaching basketball, you don't just deal with the 2 best players and then ignore the rest of the guys on your team. It's much more than the basketball. Everybody matters. Everybody has a role in our unit. And if you make them, get them to buy into that and then acknowledge when they do a good job, I think they will find meaning in what they do. And one other tip on that, this is from my own personal experience, but I also read it online this morning. maybe you can get to know your people, your staff, your coworkers outside of the law a little bit. Like that person who you only deal with in the context of the research the person is doing for you, or the client interaction the person is doing for you. Did you know that, by the way, they're one of the leading stamp collectors around? They know more about model trains than anybody around. They have interests outside the law. Get to know people who do things like that, or in that capacity, and that might help them find a little bit more meaning in what they're doing for you at work. And then finally, my tip to some of you younger lawyers, because it's easy for somebody like me who has a really, really good job, I acknowledge that, to talk about people finding meaning in work. I'm fortunate. But here are my tips. Remember, you're not going to walk into a new job and be in charge. You're not. So if that's how you find meaning, by being in charge and doing the most important things when you're brand new, you got to sort of reassess the metric by which you're trying to find meaning, okay? But remember this, two things. Whatever you are doing, it does matter to somebody. Okay, maybe it matters to the client you're doing the work for, even though it's not work that you didn't really expect to be doing or hope to be doing when you went to law school. It matters to them. It matters to somebody. It matters to the firm you're working in. It matters to everybody else at the firm. So do your best to do your job well. And two other thoughts now. On that, when it matters to somebody, you know, a lot of us get overwhelmed by the job. It's not just younger lawyers anymore. And we feel like, well, it's just a grind. I'm not making a difference at all. I've told this story 100 times. Andrew Marinitsky knows where I'm going with this. It does matter to the one person you're helping. You know, it's the starfish story where an old man's walking along the beach and he sees a young girl out one morning after all the starfish have washed in with the tide. The tide's gone back. There's a storm coming. And the girl is putting the starfish back into the water one at a time. And the man says, "What are you doing?" She said, "I'm trying to save the starfish." He said, "Rain's coming. You got to go to school soon. You're never going to save them all." And she picks up one starfish and she puts it back in the water. And she says, "I made a difference to that." Okay. And that mattered to her that she saved that one. So remember, whatever work you're doing, maybe you feel lost in the big scheme of things, but the work you're doing that day, it matters to somebody. And then finally, and usually I end with the starfish story, but thought about this morning. I wanted to add this. It goes back to me realizing how fortunate I am. You newer lawyers, younger lawyers, don't really find a lot of meaning in what you're doing right now. There is. And the person it means something to is future you. Invest in yourself right now by doing stuff that maybe you don't want to do, that you didn't feel like that this was how your career is going to work out. Do it to the best of your ability, because in the end, somebody will realize it. And you will get to a point where you can really control your days and control your work. That point is future you, who will find meaning in the life that future you is leading and will thank current you. So those are my thoughts. Check out the blog. I'm going to have a little more information on Lawyer Wellbeing Week. Don't forget, Thursday night, 7 o'clock on the YouTube channel. That's the day we're focusing on social well-being. I'm going to do a pub-style ethics quiz. You can join with teams virtually. You can play by yourself. You don't even have to submit answers. I don't care. I just want us getting together, and that'll be that. Anyway, thanks for listening. Have a great day.